Another Devils game, another Devils loss, and the farther we are from another chance at a playoff spot. Hit the intro.
Welcome to Aletius Devils Talk. Here's your host, Enrique Aletius.
Welcome to Aletius Devils Talk. I am your host, Enrique Aletius. On this St. Paddy's Day, I'm sure a lot of you are drinking, and after watching the Devils, I'm sure you're going to be drinking a lot more because, man, we fucking suck, dude. Like, this is unbelievable. This game was really close, and you got to credit Jake Allen for basically keeping us in it, not making this game an absolute blowout. I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing like, oh, well, it was a close game, hard fought battle. It's like, it kind of wasn't though, right? Like this game was all Jake Allen, or at least on the Devils side. The Devils goal, basically the only reason they scored was because Logan Thompson, it was like the start of the third period. Logan Thompson couldn't get his bearings on straight for the first shot. Puck goes through him in the legs. Defense clears it out, but then Hischia's right there, so he throws it right at Logan, who's not prepared, and they get the goal. But that's basically it. Like I'm looking at the highlights right now, and I can't exactly pinpoint a stretch of time where they had a lot of attack time and a lot of really, really good scoring chances outside of maybe that disallowed Mercer goal, which, I mean, come on, like that's so ridiculous that, it is a non-goal. I'm not saying that's ridiculous. What I'm saying is ridiculous. This is the luck of that, the luck of the fact that, Timo Meier's driving in the net, how, in the way that he does, and couldn't get that going. But a lot of the shots were from the perimeter. I'm looking at it like there wasn't really a, odd man rush too much. They didn't have to make him. There was the good breakaway save. I think John Marino had a breakaway there, but outside of that, right? Like, I'm sorry, it was Jesper Bratt, but like outside of that stuff in the first period, I didn't really see a lot of sustained pressure. The Vegas Knights owned this game. And also like on that Jack Eichel goal, how do you leave him? How do you not challenge on him, right? Like you let him skate up there. It's just it's hard because, right, it's like young D, and it was Shimon Nemec and Brendan Smith there, but then even that play, like Jesper Bratt was kind of like on him on the side a little bit, but then he kind of trailed off of him. I think these are things that, like, coaching cues, right? Like at some point the coaching staff has to also give these guys those adjustments to tell them, like, hey, like you gotta contain Jack Eichel. You gotta contain these top players, and you can't just let them skate by like that. They just gave him way too much room, space, no stick on puck, no body and shooting lane, no nothing, and he just whips it past Allen. But let me start there. Let me start with Jake Allen. I have to admit, I was one of the people who did not think that this was a good trade or a good deal for Allen to come to the Devils. Having seen him with St. Louis, he struggled. That was years ago, though, but having seen the way he played St. Louis, kind of struggled a little bit to really be that number one. Went to Montreal, got his opportunity there, but he kind of got tossed in this like kind of goalie carousel there, and Montreal wasn't exactly a top tier team, especially shortly after Price left. So kind of put in a bad spot. But man, the way that he played for the Devils this past two starts, unbelievable. I was dead wrong, and we'll see. Moving forward, but still, like, what he's shown these past two starts has been incredible. And round of applause for Jake Allen. He's the only Devil I feel like who really showed up to play against this really solid Vegas Knights. And look, I'm not saying the Devils played terribly, because they didn't. The game was so close, right? It was close all the way through the third period. It was a very close game, just in terms of like, just no one team really ran away with it. But again, I just think the reason why it was close was because of Jake Allen, and because the Devils also couldn't get a lot of good offense going. But and also Logan Thompson played well too. Like I can't take credit away from him. He played well. But I also, and I'll admit, like, the Devils played well, not really breaking down. They kept fighting. They fought throughout this entire game to really stay in it and stick with it, because this Knights teams are they're really good. Like they're a really really good team. But I just felt like the offense really had a chance to take this game and steal this game. And I don't know. I'm just waiting for. At this point, it's too late in the season. But I'm saying like I really wanted that top line to really take control of the game, of the Devils game, at least of their offensive game, and kind of just get a good get good scoring chance, right? And that's the thing too. So kind of just finish up on my thoughts with Jake Allen here. It's like I thought he played very very well. The goals that went in, first goal, whatever, it bounces off of the like double deflection. Nothing you can do about that. And then the second goal, I feel like the defenseman. I mean, you have Jack Eichel. You have any NHL player with enough room, right, in the slot area, basically untouched. I mean, you gotta at least do something there. Bratt had a chance to poke the puck. He kind of just fades away. Both defensemen are skating backwards. There's no one behind them. I don't know what they're skating backwards for. Maybe Smith was trying to, take care of one of the Vegas forwards there, Pietrangelo. But I mean, as far as like Shimon Nemec, got to stand up there, which again, he's young, but again, Allen played really well. He has been the Devils' best player every time he's played in these games. And now moving on to the offense. So the Devils' offense, in my opinion, I just think, like I was saying earlier, they really lacked the high quality scoring chances. They weren't able to capitalize on really good chances. They didn't have high danger scoring chances. They had some good shots here and there, but I'm just looking at guys like Jack Hughes, looking at guys like Hischier, Bratt. I know Mercer had his share of kind of opportunities there. Got a goal taken away from him, which is really disappointing. But overall, it didn't seem like to me that they really put a whole lot of concern on the Vegas Knights there. And maybe these lines aren't working for it. I mean, that McDermott line wasn't really the third line. I'm kind of quiet to me. Basically a lot of the lines seem kind of quiet to me. I feel like, having Bratt, Hischier, and Hughes, I think that's the first line, right? Having that be the pairing, it's like they're just not big. They're like they can get bullied around, and when you have a team like the Knights who play physical, and damn near every team plays as really physical, especially compared to the Devils. Like the Devils are not a physical team, by and large, right? They have one or two physical players, but right, like look at that line. Hischier, Hughes, and Bratt, like they're really not that big of a line, right? Basically a 6 foot. Hischier's 6 foot. Hughes is 5'11". Bratt's 5'10". Then you have the second line of Meyer, Hall, and Mercer. They generate some things, right? They generate some stuff. But for me, like maybe it's time to put Holtz up, a little up there, test him out, see how that goes, just to generate something, and maybe move Palat around. I don't know. Like I feel like there is something. Just they need to generate something. It's been really difficult to find production just these past couple games here, and it's just it's frustrating to see how close we are, right? Close the Devils are to making the playoffs, and it's like crazy how every team above us, like for the most part, it's like almost falling somewhat in our favor to still stay in it, or it has been for a little bit, and we just keep giving up like wins. We keep giving up games that put us further away, making it harder for ourselves. So it's been a very close wild card race with a bunch of the teams that the Devils are around. But that's why, like, I just don't see the Devils making the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm shocked and I'm wrong. It'll be so fun for them just to make the playoffs with this team. That's like, we've been out of it for so long, and I get it, right? Like we probably won't make any damage in the playoffs, but just as a fan, right, to be in the playoffs, right, you never know, you just gotta make it to the dance. But in terms of this game, I didn't see a sense of urgency. I felt like it was they were trying hard to not lose the game as opposed to really trying to win it. You know, and again, against a team like Vegas, they're so good and you have to watch out. But like, it was almost like they were trying to just like constantly prevent prevent the Knights from scoring and taking the lead, as opposed to really taking chances to go out and, you know, take control of the game. They didn't have a whole lot of like, I don't know how to say this, but in the offensive zone, there was not a lot of creativity, right? There was just, let's try to go in, let's try to, you know, chase the puck around or dump the puck around a little bit. Let's try to get some shots on the perimeter. It was just the same thing, and it didn't really. I didn't feel like the Knights ever felt like they were in trouble, you know. So that's been the story of a lot of games lately, you know. And I also think now, shifting gears a little bit, on our side defensively, I still think that defensively we have to make some adjustments in the offseason, like get veteran, or I don't know, but like get veteran players on our defensive core where we're not relying on like a Smith or Siegenthaler or, you know, like I know Hamilton's going to be really good for us, but like we have, you know, like DeSimone, I think he's getting better. I know Smith, he's got a really good offensive mind to him, and he helps us out offensively at times. But like what I want is like we need more stay-at-home strong defensemen, right? Like that's something I really wish we could go out and get like a veteran defenseman. We got a veteran goalie. I really wish we could go out and get a veteran defenseman. And I think that's one thing like the Lou Lamoriello era did really well, was always surrounding like whatever phase of the Devils they were in, whether it was the 95 Devils, so like from like the mid 90s Devils to the late 90s, early 2000s Devils, and then kind of towards the end of Lou's time there was always a core group of veterans in the locker room that could always serve as a backbone to help transition young guys, right? There was a reliability that, hey, look, oh, cool, we got like, of course, like Scott Stevens, Niedermayer, when Rafalski was finding his way right towards into like the 2000s, but even in the 95s, I mean, Stevens and them were young, but like, you know, you got a bunch of guys there, like the young Gomez in the 2000s, but like, you know, in 95 you had like Peluso and like just overall throughout the years, and then 2003 you had like all that core, the huge number of veterans there with Stevens, Niedermayer, Danico, Marty, Eliash, kind of, although he was in his prime really at that point, but like they could kind of guide the Giantas or the like young guys at that point. I think Gianta was there, right? The young guys, he was there. It was Parisi who came after, but a lot of young players there, and even Pascal Rayom, who he was at the time, believe he was a veteran, but he never really had his chance at the playoffs. But a lot of guys who were kind of not the most experienced NHL level players, you kind of guide them in. But you look at our roster now, I mean, it's tough to put all your eggs in the basket of like Luke Hughes and Shimon Nemec throughout the season, and even Brendan Smith, right? Like he's not necessarily the most experienced veteran in terms of defensemen for our team. And like, who are the guys, in my opinion, that like I look at our roster, like who are guys right now, or at least in this game, who are the guys that are solid veterans that can kind of tell the room like, hey, like we need this one, right? Or kind of lead by example. And it's tough, right? You know, Palat's been there, but I don't know if Palat's really that kind of leader guy. He's just more of like that role player guy who, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like not role player as in like he doesn't do a whole lot, but I'm talking about like he really plays, he does his own thing and is really, you know, he's more of a guy that kind of contributes as opposed to the one that kind of takes a stand and is the leader. You know, with the Lightning, it was more of like the Stamkos and Kucherov or you know, those kind of guys. But anyway, I feel like the Devils just honestly, games like this, and there's been a lot of the games like this year, so frustrating because they are so close to the playoff hunt. They're so close to getting themselves in the playoffs. If they just went on like a, like 6 out of, or win 6 games over the last, let's say 8 games or whatever, like just go on a run like that, they would have been a really good spot to make the playoffs. And they just have not this season been able to get on a solid run and have good wins, have wins where you feel good about like each game after the next, like they're building something. It always was like, all right, they win a game and then they shit the bed the next game, or they lose a game and then they come out strong the next one, and it just keeps flip-flopping. And at that point, like it's just hard to figure out where they stand as a team and to evaluate how they're doing. But well, it's disappointing. And overall, I don't know. I mean, mathematically, I guess Devils are still in it, but just based on what I'm watching, it's like they're not. They just don't seem like a team that's going to make a push for it. It just seems like they're trying to do their best to finish the season strong, but I don't think a lot of the players in that locker room have a strong belief that they're going to make the playoffs. You can't say that out loud. It doesn't feel like they're playing that way. But I don't know. We'll see. But Jake Allen, my takeaways from this game was Jake Allen was an amazing get. Played really well. Defense still a major problem. I hope they try to fix it. And lastly, the offense just have to do something, right? They have to do something. And it's been tough to watch, not being able to put up more than 1 or 2 goals when your goalie plays lights out like he did tonight. So but that's it. That's my recap of this game against the Vegas Knights. Hope you guys enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. This was a disappointing loss for the Devils. Gets them further out from a playoff spot, but we'll see. Until they're mathematically out, we'll still have hope. A little bit of hope. It's always good to have hope, right? All right, I'm out.